It's time to talk about those shooting guards. Namco right here, Dustin right here. You can always enjoy a good Happy Gilmore reference. We're going to be doing all of our tiers and rankings, so be sure to check them all out. But before we get into shooting guards, Brent, talk about DraftKings.
If you like fantasy basketball, you like DraftKings Fantasy Basketball Daily. It's just great. So do it. But to win, you got to sign up. So sign up, use the promo code FST, or follow the card. Link in the description below. Deposit at least $5. DraftKings is going to give you entry into a free contest. If you do all of those things in the month of October, Dustin, yes, Dustin over here, will send you a t-shirt courtesy of your boys at Fantasy Smack Talk. Month of October, but you still got to deposit at least $5 in the card and the link and all those little things. So.
And it helps us out, and I know you want to help us out.
Yeah, come on.
Who doesn't like shirts? Let's talk about James Harden in a tier all by himself. The guy is just amazing. And, I mean, he just does it all. I mean, you're drafting him in the early first round for a reason. He's in a tier by himself for a reason. The guy's amazing. You gotta love him.
All right, tier 2, we got Jimmy Butler and Klay Thompson. Butler gets the little bit nod over him just because of the other stuff. He's going to give you more boards, more defensive stats, and Thompson's more of a scorer. And I think Thompson will score maybe a couple more points more than Butler, because with Rose being back, if Rose is healthy the whole year, you figure his scoring comes down a little bit, but don't be too concerned. Even with Rose back, I believe Butler is a 20-point-a-game player. Just keep that noted.
Talk about tier 3. I want to talk about Victor Oladipo. I love the Magic team in general. They're just a fun, young team. You know, you're getting excited about almost every person on that starting lineup, and I love Oladipo. He took huge steps last year, averaged almost 18 points a game. I mean, I think he's going to do it again. I think he might not even hit his ceiling yet, so he's obviously an exciting guy. And then I want to talk about Danny Green. If you look at his stats, they don't necessarily look all that good unless you really look at him. I mean, he only averaged...
I hated on where Dustin wanted him ranked at first.
He only had about 12 points a game, but 2.5 threes, over a steal, over a block. I mean, to get over a block from your shooting guard, I mean, I think that's huge. It's a nice bump. And the other thing, too, he's a Spur, he's going to get rested. He played 81 games last year, so he might be in a weird spot in terms of his youth and just kind of the guys that they actually want to rest, where he might actually still play the whole season and not be getting benched towards the end and mess you up when it counts the most.
That's pretty much how the rankings discussion went, where I hated on him, and then Dustin talked about the blocks, and then I said the Spurs. It's kind of funny that he's just reliving it now. All right, let's go into tier 4. I mean, like, word for word. And I was like, ooh, the Spurs thing, just like that. Tier 4. First guy I want to talk about is Monta Ellis. Now, he's the one guy that is constantly disrespected in fantasy basketball. And us putting him in tier 4 might be somewhat disrespecting him again, but this is the type of guy that I always see. I'm like, God, why didn't I draft him? And he's on the Pacers now, and on the Pacers, I still think he can average close to 20 points, 5 assists. He's going to get you, probably about 2 steals a game as well. He fills it up across the board. He's just a phenomenal basketball player. And calling it now, this is the first time he makes an All-Star game. I believe it'll be his first time. And the next guy, almost paused and forgot, so you should be excited. I'm talking about another bullet. This is the last bullet I'm talking about, though. I talked about Wall and the point guards. I'm going to talk about Bradley Beal here in the shooting guards. And here's the thing with Beal. I've seen him ranked really low in a lot of sites, which is nuts. Now, obviously, these things might adjust based on while we're shooting this. But Bradley Beal can really do it all. He's a great shooter. He can hit the threes. He's going to give you, decent amount of rebounds and assists. Sure, his shooting percentage needs to go up a little bit more, but John Wall makes him a better shooter when they're on the floor together. So I think that you can get him at a great value. And here's the thing. He wants a max contract. They didn't give it to him yet, and they're probably not going to before the season. I like guys motivated by money.
There you go. Tier 5. This is about the time of the draft where you really have to start thinking about specialists. I think, when you're building a fantasy team, when you get in the middle rounds, that's really when you got to try to fill holes with players that just do some things just really well. And that's Kyle Korver and JJ Redick. Korver is one of the most underrated players in all of fantasy. I mean, he gets you almost 3 threes a game. He gets you over half a steal, over half a block. If you got 4 or 5 guys that get you over half in both those, that adds up at the end of the day. And JJ Redick, I mean, he doesn't get you as much stuff as Korver does, but he's still at 2.5 threes a game. And again, these are just guys that you can get in the middle rounds. They're not going to cost you a ton, and they're going to really help you in those categories that they're good at.
All right, as we look at tier 6, I'm going to talk about one guy, and that's the new Knick, Aaron Aflalo. If you look at his stats last year, they weren't that great, but I think Aflalo, while he wasn't the star free agent acquisition the Knicks were hoping for in the offseason, I think he's extremely solid, and I think he fits the triangle extremely well. So I see a follow having solid point totals, and he's decent. He's a solid defender, so he'll get a decent amount of defensive stats as well. But I think where his game really improves and will help your fantasy team again is the specialist that Dustin's talking about. He's going to be knocking down some wide open threes.
Take a look at Tier 7. I want to talk about Jordan Clarkson for the Lakers. I mean, obviously, with Kobe out last year, I mean, basically, whoever could score for the Lakers, they were letting him shoot the ball. And he played amazing at the end of last year. So take a look at that. He's not going to do that once Kobe's back. But I think he could do somewhere where he was at the beginning and where he was in the middle, at the end, somewhere in the middle this year. So definitely an upside with Clarkson. And then Caldwell Pope for Detroit. You know, another guy that I think you can get really late. He's going to average about 2 threes a game. Again, just kind of a specialist guy. I think his minutes are fairly safe, and I don't know if we've necessarily seen his ceiling as well. So I think there's a little bit of upside there. So I like Caldwell Pope.
All right, number 8. Tier 8, we're going to talk about Nik Stauskas for the Philadelphia 76ers. And this is really an end-of-the-draft kind of flyer, right? Right now, he's penciled in as the 2 because they're saying the battle for the point guard positions between 2 players. If Woden doesn't win, he might move over to 2. But if he doesn't, and this kid does get a ton of minutes, there's 3 things in fantasy basketball that are important. Talent, minutes, surroundings.
What are you going with now?
I don't know where I was going on that. Oh, basically surroundings, where you are, who's behind you, who's in front of you. So if he gets all of the minutes, even though his talent's not that great, late in drafts, that's what you're looking for.
You had me on talents and minutes.
Yeah,
So
I forget what the third thing was.
Surroundings works.
Yeah, but that's not it.
The main ones are talent and minutes.
It is.
We'll go with that. And the last tier, I want to talk about Zach LaVine with Minnesota. I like targeting these guys at the end of the draft because this is a guy that will probably have decent value even if Kevin Martin stays healthy. He's going to play enough minutes off the bench, I think. But Mr. Glass, Kevin Martin, I mean, he's a twisted ankle away from being on the bench at any minute. And LaVine, if he gets solid minutes, I really do like his upside. I think he's a great late-round flyer.
All right, so that's it. Make sure you check all of our other tiers and rankings. All the other videos are up as well. Like us on Facebook, subscribe, do all this fun stuff. But definitely sign up for DraftKings. Daily fantasy basketball is really, really fun. Ooh, go for it. Let's double do it.
Mid-air collision. Mine was the one that looked better. In case you were wondering when they were going through, it was mine. Definitely.
Jerk.